multiplicative property of equality with fractions. I know fractions freak everybody out for whatever reason, but just remember a fraction is literally a division sign. Like I've seen this before. Actually, Miss Liz showed me this, and I thought it was really cute because it literally looks like a division symbol. So instead of a division symbol, we can just write the numbers in here, right? So the numbers are kind of the dots. So just remember, a fraction is just division. That's all it is. So in this case, what we want to pay attention to, and I like rewriting this a little bigger instead of having it small off to the side. So we're always trying to get the variable by itself. Whenever we have an equation, and we know we have an equation because there's an equal sign, we're trying to get this variable all by itself. So we want to move things away from the variable. So the only thing by the variable is this fraction, 7/6. So we need to think of the top of a fraction like multiplication, and the bottom of a fraction is division. So if we remember that we have multiplication and division, we've learned over the past few weeks that to undo multiplication, I want to divide. And to undo division, I want to multiply. So we simply just multiply by the reciprocal of the number. Reciprocal just means flip it over. So instead of 7/6, I have 6/7. Well, whatever I do to one side of the equation, and remember by side I mean the equal sign here. So whatever I do to one side of the equation, I have to do to the other side of the equation. So I have to multiply both sides by the reciprocal of the fraction. What that does is 6 divided by 6 cancels, it becomes 1. 7 divided by 7 cancels, it becomes 1. So by multiplying by the reciprocal, I cancel out the fraction on the one side. And this is the side I want it to cancel out on because I want x to be by itself. Remember, it doesn't cancel out to become 0, cancel out to become 1. So we have x equals, and now we have 42 times 6/7. So with this one, remember every number you've ever seen has a 1 underneath it. And when we're multiplying fractions, all we do is multiply across the top and then across the bottom. So we have 42 times 6, and we get, let's see, 12 and 24, 25. So we get, and I wrote this kind of funny, so I'm going to squeeze it in here, 252 over 1 times 7 is 7. So now we just need to figure out what is 252 divided by 7. So I know it can go into 21 because 7 3 times is 21. And then 2 comes down, 4 comes down. So 7 goes into 42 6 times. So x equals 32. So I have my final answer here, which is exactly the final answer at the bottom here. All right, so I'm going to clear this out, and we're going to go ahead and give this a try. Okay, so we have 10 equals 5/9 times u. So remember, u is what we're trying to get alone. We're trying to get that by itself. So we want to know what does u equal, and in order to know that, we need u all by itself. So we have u equals something. So we want to get this fraction away from the u. And so remember, and I left this space here on purpose just so that I could write right next to the fraction here. So remember, the 5 means multiplication because it's on top. So I want to divide to undo the multiplication. And then the 9 on the bottom means division. To undo division, I multiply. So I put that on top. So I just literally swap them. Instead of 5/9, I have 9/5. I have to do the same thing on the other side. So I multiply by 9/5 here, and I'm multiplying by 9/5 here. So let's go ahead and look at this left side first. So we have a 1 on the bottom. 9 times 10 is 90. 5 times 1 is 5. Equals 9 divided by 9 cancels. 5 divided by 5 cancels. And we just have u come down. We're almost there. Now we just need to know what is 90 divided by 5. And they do have the calculator marked off here. So we can do long division like this. You are welcome to use a calculator outside of this program. That's perfectly fine. So we know it can go in 1 time, which is 5. We bring 0 down and 4. And then 5 can go into 40 8 times. So u equals 18, or, and because I'm going to flip-flop it because over here it says u equals 18. This means the same thing. 18 equals u equals 18. Same exact thing. All right. So let's go ahead and do our next one. All right. So we get 6 over 5x equals, and you know what? I'm going to write it the same way they do. So they have 6x over 5 equals 30. And I want to write it the same way they do so that I can tell you this means the same thing as what I started to write, which was this. Just moving the x over off to the side, which is a little easier to think of that way, as the x kind of being separated. But it really means the same darn thing. All right, so I'm going to write this in pink here just to make sure you understand it's happening to both sides. So remember, we want to undo the multiplication, which is 6, and the division of 5. So I'm going to multiply by 5 and divide by 6. So I just flipped the fraction over. And then I'd have to do the same thing to the other side over here. All right, so let's start working this out. So we get 5 divided by 5 cancels, 6 divided by 6 cancels. Any number divided by itself cancels into 1. And we just have x come down, and that equals, now let's deal with this right side. So we have a 1 on the bottom. 30 times 5, let's see, we get 0 and 15, so we get 150. Over 1 times 6 is 6. So now we just need to go 150 divided by 6. So we can go in twice for 12. Bring it down on our 0 and our 3. And then 6 can go into 35 times with nothing left over. All right, so we know x equals 25. All right, so 25. So I'm hoping the fractions aren't too bad once you see them. Again, the whole point is to just undo what's being done. So if we have a fraction, we're multiplying and dividing at the same time. That's all it means. All right, so this one is a little bit different than what we've seen so far. So we have 7u equals 14 over 5. So now if I draw my line so you can see both sides, what I want to do, I want to undo the multiplication that's happening right here between 7 and u. So I want to divide by 7 on both sides. Well, that looks definitely funky on the right side, so we'll deal with that in just a moment. So I'm going to go back to my red here, and I have 7 divided by 7 is 1. U comes down. And then this one, I can't divide by a fraction. So we have to go back to our fraction rules. So if I'm dividing by another number, remember there's a 1 under this 7. So what I want to do is flip it over. So it's 1/7 instead of dividing by 7, and I multiply. And then I'm going to multiply across the top, which is 14, and across the bottom, which is 35. And there's no, oh, nope, I'm fibbing. There is reduction here because both of these can divide by 7. So I end up with u equals 14 divided by 7 is 2, and 35 divided by 7 is 5. So my end answer is 2/5. All right, we finished another one.